Hey there, everybody. Welcome to World Gratitude Day and the Women of Gratitude Live Virtual Roundtable. My name is Lauren Blanchard Zalewski, otherwise known as the Gratitude Addict, and I will be your host for tonight. That was the longest 3 minutes I think I've ever had. I've never done a countdown clock like that before, and I am nervous, I must admit. I do a live broadcast every Thursday night. It is not usually something on this scale, and I am joined tonight by some phenomenal women. And as a matter of fact, just backstage, I read a poem to them by Maya Angelou that I love called Phenomenal Woman. I'm very humbled to be joined by them tonight. We have Sharon Saraga Walters of Gratitude Size 365. You'll get to know them all a bit more in a few minutes, but I just want to briefly run down Julie Boyer of the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast, IJ McIntyre, author of The Grateful Way, and she has a wonderful TED Talk. Dr. Peggy DeLong, otherwise known as the Gratitude Psychologist, and Dr. Farhana Sadek, otherwise known as Dr. Gratitude and founder of the app Gratitude. I have a group on Facebook called Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain that I've had for 8 years, and that is sort of my specialty in helping people that live with chronic pain and illness to find joy and purpose. Oop, that just covered up Farhana's face right there. Sorry, Farhana. Anyway, I am so glad you're here on this World Gratitude Day. While I normally do a broadcast on this day, it is not normally something on this scale, but this was an idea I had in the shower a few months ago, which is where my best ideas normally come from. And I've had the honor of having each of these phenomenal women on my show individually over the past 2 years that I've had the broadcast. So I had this idea, why don't I bring together, if I can, if they agree to, these phenomenal women who share the same common bond of gratitude and hopes of spreading gratitude to all of you on this World Gratitude Day. So thank you, ladies, for being here. It's really an honor to share this virtual stage with you all. I'll share a little bit. I'm going to ask everybody to share a little bit about their work because everybody has different specialties when it comes to gratitude. Before we get to that, though, let me just offer a little bit of info on how the broadcast is going to work tonight. This is a private broadcast streaming on YouTube. Anybody is welcome to watch that's on YouTube, but you do need to be signed into your YouTube account in order to comment. And we do welcome comments. We want this to be question and answer. We want to be able to share gratitude with each other on this wonderful day. So, and if you comment, I can share it on the screen. Hi, Christine. Glad you're here. I will try to get to as many comments and questions as possible, but tell us where you are watching from. Share with us about what gratitude means to you. Even Madonna's watching, so it's a big deal. Hi, Madonna. Thanks for being here. Sandy Montgomery. Thank you all. We have we have about 170 people that are registered for this, and even people that, if you cannot watch live, although if you're watching now, you're watching live, this will be available as soon as this broadcast is over. You will be able to watch the replay. I'm sure you're going to get a ton of great information tonight. So you can use this link to get the replay. If you signed up and if you registered prior to the early bird cutoff, which was last Friday, the 16th, you are going to get a gratitude boosting toolkit, which I promised it's probably not going to come until next week, but you will get that in your email. Speaking of email, this by you signing up tonight, you are not on any email list. If you want to opt into any of our email lists, I have everybody's website is in the show notes of this broadcast. You can absolutely click on their websites, and I encourage you to sign up for all of their email lists, including my own, which is Gratitude Addict, but you are not automatically getting promoted or put on any email list. This is purely a gratitude boosting event, and I'm very glad you're all here. What else? I think that's about it. So let me tell you a little bit about me, and then I'll have the ladies introduce themselves. So, I'm Lauren Blanchard Zalewski. GratitudeAddict.com is my website. I already mentioned my group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, which I've had for 8 years. We just hit 10,000 members recently, which is incredible. And what is incredible about it is it's a very unique group in that we don't share the specifics about our pain, and it's a non-complaining group. We're mainly a gratitude group that happens to be full of people that live with some sort of chronic condition, whether emotional or physical. Just briefly, my personal story, I've lived with chronic pain and illness myself for a couple of decades, over 22 years, and hit a really emotional, dark rock bottom 9 years ago. Really developed a pretty serious alcohol problem that found me hitting a emotional, spiritual, mental, physical rock bottom. Went to rehab, got sober, and found the beauty of gratitude and the power of gratitude. And since then, it's really been my mission to help others that struggle with the effects, the emotional effects of chronic pain and illness, to find how gratitude can help improve their lives. And so I feel incredibly privileged to not only be here tonight and sit here with these amazing women, but also that I never know when something will help somebody, and that's really what it's all about for me, is helping others to find that spark and know that life does not need to be game over when you're diagnosed or injured with a condition. So that is my story. I'm going to have each of these ladies introduce themselves. And again, please look in the show notes for their websites. I'm going to try to put them in the comments. Also, if you want to link on their website. So I'm just going to go with how I see you. So Sharon Saraga Walters, you're up.
Oh, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here with all of you today on World Gratitude Day. I'm Sharon Saraga Walters, and I've been in the health and wellness world for the past 40 years. My focus today is to share with you all how to make gratitude an action and how to exercise gratitude. Yes, I said exercise gratitude all day long. When I look back on my journey here, I feel so much gratitude for the person that I am today because of gratitude. I'm a gratitude coach, a fitness trainer of gratitude, and always open to learning more and growing every day. I've written 3 books on gratitude, and I was inspired by what I call my 2 superpowers. I bet you could guess what they are pretty soon. And they are exercise and gratitude. Exercise makes me feel healthy and energized, creative and powerful. And gratitude makes me feel kind and generous, calm and alive. And here are 2 big favorites of mine. Gratitude also, it opens me up to so many life experiences and connecting with people. I just love that. I wrote my first book, The 28-Day Gratitude Workout, after realizing, and this is my truth here, this is really the truth about me. I wrote the first book after realizing how much I was taking for granted in my life. And I'm happy to say that is not so much there. Thank goodness, after being in the work of gratitude. And let me give you a few examples about that. So one of them is gratitude for my shower every day. That wasn't always there, and it's truly there now. I give gratitude for my transportation, for my car, for my legs, for my bike. I give gratitude for my closet, for all the clothes that I have in my closet, all my shoes and clothes, and just all that I have to choose from. So I really see that it's easy to overlook the everyday items that we have in our lives. But when we set an intention to exercise gratitude, these everyday items become special gifts. So my second book, I was inspired by some very, very special people. I was given such a gift with 4 amazing clients who were in their 80s, 90s, and even 100. They wrote me thank you notes all the time. In fact, it was so amazing at their age to specifically write me a thank you note. It really hit home for me. And so I dedicated my second book, Thursday's Note, to these 4 women. The book gives you a year, 52 Thursdays, and 52 reasons to write a thank you note. This type of exercise in gratitude, I believe, connects you more to more people that are in your life. And exercising gratitude is the focus of my third book, and it's called Gratitude 365. I created a new way to exercise gratitude from the time you wake up throughout your day until you go to bed. And in Gratitude 365, you get 365 different gratitude exercises to guide you. And I show you how to create your own daily gratitude routine with pages to help you keep track of your progress. And most recently, this year, I had a personal dream of mine that came true when everything came together to launch Gratitude sunglasses. They're stylish and they look good on everyone, I promise you. And most importantly, they remind us how to see the world with more gratitude. I am so grateful to be here, and I look forward to sharing with you many tips and fun ideas to exercise gratitude throughout your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. That was incredible. I don't know if you saw IJ and I in the background. We both put on our gratitude sunglasses. That was wonderful. Sharon, you are fantastic. Thank you. Next up, how about Farhana? You feel like sharing about you next, my friend?
Absolutely.
Dr.
Why
Farhana
not?
Sadek, otherwise known as Dr. Gratitude.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I am a medical doctor, been a doctor for over a decade, and I specialize in what we call general practice here in the UK. I believe you folks in the US like to refer to that as family medicine, family doctors. And I have only ever worked in challenging, diverse, inner city practices throughout my career. And about half my workload typically involves helping people with their mental health problems. So over the last few years, and I say probably about the last 5 years, I've noticed a sharp rise in people coming to see me and my colleagues with problems relating to stress, anxiety, and low mood. And I found myself over the years, the sort of solutions I was recommending to patients, they weren't really cutting it. So a lot of the things that I was recommending, patients were coming back to me saying they were finding it really difficult to form habits with these. So things like, for example, going to the gym regularly or practicing meditation. And so over the years, it's got me thinking that there's got to be something out there that's sort of universally easy to do, but proven to work. And I knew kind of then and there that I wanted to dedicate some time to sort of finding what that solution could be. And so I set up my business about 2 years ago with my co-founder, who's also a doctor. And we sort of stumbled across what the solution really for us as a business and what we're going to sort of put out there in the world would be due to COVID, really. Can't say that there's been much that's been particularly good about the pandemic, but for us, it certainly, steered us in a direction that we now have embraced very passionately. So at the start of the pandemic, being a frontline healthcare worker, life was pretty stressful, and myself and my co-founder struggled with our own mental health. And what we started to do is basically at the end of a really tough sort of work day, we started to reflect upon at least one thing that had sort of gone well during our day, and we shared that with each other. And it soon ended up becoming the favorite part of our days. But more importantly than that, I sort of noticed about 7 to 10 days after doing this that I was feeling a lot more positive about work, about life. And interestingly, I was sleeping a lot better as well. So being a very curious scientist, we just delved straight into all the vast research behind gratitude practice. And knowing that it is evidence-based, I started to recommend it to my patients, family, friends. And the feedback we were getting was sort of overwhelmingly positive. So we knew then and there that sort of, our business, we, as a mission, we wanted to spread gratitude practice to as many people as possible. And in order to do that, we wanted to create a tool that facilitates the practice of gratitude. So we created an app called Gratitude, which is free to download on the App Store. And we believe it to be the world's first video gratitude journaling app. And we also spend our time carrying out workshops for organizations, from everyone to employees in global banks to children in schools, just trying to spread the message of gratitude practice. And longer term, we're working with these organizations to help them build a true culture of gratitude from within, so that they can sort of, benefit individuals, but also the organization as a whole. So that is me in a 4-minute nutshell.
Thank you, Farhana. I was telling the ladies, prior to the broadcast, it's pretty difficult to sum up your body of work in like 3 to 4 minutes. But we want to get to your questions and also talk about various topics also. But it's really important, I think, to have everybody, all these women are so accomplished in their areas, and it's really such a diverse array of expertise in the world of gratitude. So it's difficult to sum it up in 4 to 5 minutes, but you're doing a great job. How about Dr. Peggy DeLong, another doctor? We have the Gratitude Psychologist here. Hi,
Hello.
Peggy. Thanks for being here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Peggy DeLong. I've been a licensed psychologist for 20 years and in the field of mental health for 30. And I consider myself having been an ungrateful teen and an ungrateful young adult. It took tragedy in my life to discover the power of gratitude. And that was when I was about 26. I was 26 years old, and my fiance was diagnosed with cancer. And when the doctors said that there was nothing left that they could do for him and that he was going to die, that is when I discovered the power of gratitude. It was those 42 days that I was with him at the hospital, and filled with so much unpredictability, so much anxiety, I found comfort in a simple cup of hazelnut coffee. When all of the visitors would leave at 8 p.m. and I was allowed to stay, it was that predictability of the cup that brought me so much comfort. And I would sip that coffee and journal, and I felt better. My 26-year-old self didn't make sense of it. I didn't know that I was practicing gratitude. I didn't understand at the time that that was a thing. Only when I began to study psychology and began my doctoral program did it start to make sense to me. So I discovered gratitude during the worst time of my life, and it has become my mission to help people do the same, to not wait for the good days to be grateful, that gratitude is truly most powerful during our most difficult times. One of my favorite quotes is that gratitude is free, it's accessible to all of us at any time, it makes us feel good in the moment, and it has long-term benefits for mental health. So part of my goal is to help people individually through my private practice and groups, and also through the books that I have written. My memoir, I Can See Clearly Now, which pretty much chronicles my whole experiences of going through cancer treatment with a loved one, and then after he passed away, and then 6 weeks later losing my father. And my mother and I found ourselves two young widows. I was 26 and she was 52, and both of us harnessing the power of gratitude to get through that very difficult time. So I just like to leave you with this thought that don't wait for your good days to practice gratitude. Gratitude is truly most powerful during your difficult days.
Beautiful. Thank you, Peggy. Peggy and I happen to live locally to each other, within about a half an hour of each other. We had the opportunity to go see the New York City premiere of the film Gratitude Revealed together last Friday. I don't know if any of you got a chance. I hosted a screening earlier today, which I was promoting as part of World Gratitude Day, and I was able to watch it again, and I just loved it. If you were able to watch the film, please feel free to put in the comments what you thought about it. I think it's just spectacular. I keep saying it should be required viewing, I think, of every human being to watch that. In fact, I think I would love to be able to watch at least a clip of it every single morning. And I know it would help me to reframe my day and start it on the positive. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. You can find out more about it at gratituderevealed.com. But if you had a chance to see it today, please feel free to weigh in and let me know your thoughts. So next up, we've got IJ McIntyre, author of The Grateful Way.
Grateful greetings from Canada. I am usually on the West Coast in beautiful British Columbia. Today, I'm on the East Coast in the, how shall I say, path of an upcoming Fiona hurricane. So, and I apologize in advance if my Wi-Fi lets me down partway through here. But I am so delighted to be here. And thank you, Lauren, and to all of the other women of gratitude, as well as all of you who registered and have decided to spend a little bit of time with us on this amazing World Gratitude Day. My full name is Ida Jean. It's IJ is the short, and that's, I go by either, but I am a gratitude aficionado. I am the author of The Grateful Way, which is a short, sweet, inspirational memoir of my mom's life, and also a self-care how-to book based on the power of gratitude. Lauren already graciously mentioned that I also had the opportunity to do a TEDx talk, Feel Regret-Free with Gratitude. I'd like to talk more about that later when we loop back to one of my best suggestions of the way you can tap into the power of gratitude. Certainly, my focus is about how expressing gratitude prevents feelings of regret. When Sharon was talking, she mentioned about we fall into the trap of taking things for granted. If we get ahead of that, we can prevent those feelings. Sometimes we get caught and we end up with regrets. And I've discovered that practicing, expressing, tapping into the power of gratitude allows us to soften and remove those feelings of regret. As I mentioned, my inspiration was my remarkable role model of a mom. She was this glass half full kind of woman, even though she had more than her fair share of adversity. She lost the love of her life, my dad, to cancer when they were both in their, youth, if you will, the prime of their lives in their 40s and 50s. In the middle of him dying of cancer, our farmhouse burned down on Christmas Day. As you might imagine, my mom wasn't grateful in the moment, but when she was later able to look back and see the silver linings that came from that experience, she was able to grab hold, get strength, find a little bit of comfort, and certainly courage to move on. I wondered how she had been so positive through that experience, through losing my brother when one of her sons, her youngest son, when he was only 37, to a heart attack, to waking up in an Arizona hospital after having suffered a stroke herself. And those glass half full positive vibes that she was always able to tap into was because she was able to find something to be thankful for, some little positive blessing that would reveal itself again, maybe not right in the moment. And she always appreciated the good and terrific and awesome times and opportunities in her life as well. She started to paint beautifully when she was in her 60s. She enjoyed a fabulous European vacation with me for 6 weeks when I was 26 and she was 64, going on 65. And in the 80s, that seemed kind of old. Maybe not so much anymore. But I couldn't keep up to her because she was so intent on making the most of every opportunity and was just, as I say, so appreciative of that. She also became a calendar girl when she was in her 80s, and she's on the cover of the book because she was this amazing woman who I wanted to be just like when I grew up, and I want to encourage and invite everyone else to live that kind of life as well, because she figured it out. I figured it out. many of you are already practicing and expressing and understand the power of gratitude, but there is always another opportunity to harness it, as Dr. DeLong was saying, even in our most difficult moments. And as Dr. Sadek said, I mean, it's easy if we really just take a moment. And as Dr. DeLong said, it's free.
Yes, thank you, IJ. It's fantastic. It is free. Before I get to our last one, Julie Boyer, I just want to get to some of your comments. And there's a comment here that I'm so glad she weighed in. Let's Soul, those of you that are registered, you're going to get a coupon code for letssoul.com. Goranka from Let's Soul is graciously offered. She makes apparel with one beautiful apparel with gratitude on it. She's going to be on my Thursday night broadcast coming up in October. But I love her comment too. Gratitude for me is a way of lifestyle. I love it. We've got people from all over the world here. Madonna's from Australia, Tasmania, Australia, California, Florida. I'm so glad you're all here with us tonight. Thank you so much. I love this comment too. Nice to spend time with people who put intentions and actions on being happy and positive. Yes, gratitude is the place to start. Absolutely. And so with that, let's bring on Julie Boyer, host of the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast. Hi, Julie.
Hi. Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm so grateful to be with all of you. And Deborah was a guest on my podcast, as almost everybody here was a guest on my podcast as well. So I'm Julie Boyer. I live off the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island. I am married to my husband, Dan, and we have a daughter, Celine, who will be 12 next week. Such an exciting time. And my gratitude journey began, like many people, with the movie The Secret. And I started writing in The Secret gratitude journals. And those journals had, on one side of the page, you would write what you're grateful for. And on the other side of the page, you would write like a gratitude intention. So what you wanted to manifest in your life that had yet to happen, but you were writing it in the present tense with the attitude of being grateful for something that had yet to happen, but you acted as if. And I did this for a while, but it didn't really feel grounded in anything. It was kind of rote, and I didn't really have a lot of emotion or intention behind it. So I let that practice fall. Fast forward a couple of years, I was at an event where I heard Sean Aker speak. He wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage, and he taught us how to shift our mindset in 21 days. And one of the suggestions that he made was to start a gratitude practice. And what I liked about what he said is that you could put this in your phone. This was before smartphones were in everybody's pocket, but he's like, write a note in your phone and be specific with your gratitude to that particular day. And then you're not repeating it every night. So you're making it different and specific. So I started that practice right away that evening, and also added what I'd learned from The Secret, which is the gratitude intention. So I started doing this practice, and 12 weeks later, the gratitude intention that I had written, which was a business goal that had evaded me for the past 2 years before this, my business goal came to be easily and with hard work, but not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I was like, this gratitude stuff, there's something to it. So I started including gratitude in my practice with my business. And I got very lucky. I got pregnant for a second time, was so grateful for that. And unfortunately, at 15 weeks gestation, when you think everything is going to be fine, I had a miscarriage. And, it was a very traumatic experience, and had to go to the hospital, with EMS and everything. And when I got home that night, somehow, some way, I was still able to write in my gratitude journal on what was then the worst night of my life. And I said to myself, if I can write in my gratitude journal after going through all of that, if I can find something to be grateful for, I need to share this. And so over the next couple of months, I started writing my book, 30 Days of Gratitude, the gratitude program that will change your life. And it was part of my healing journey. the book, downloaded into my mind. I wrote it, edited it, and published it in less than 4 months. And I really thought I was like on this gratitude journey. I had it kind of all figured out. Everyone's laughing because they know there's no destination with gratitude, right? But I was like, I get this gratitude stuff. I wrote a book about it. And so I continued with my practice. And then, as luck would have it, I did get pregnant for a third time. And unfortunately, this one also ended in a miscarriage at 12 weeks. And this time, what happened was I ended up with a life-threatening bacterial infection that put me in the hospital. I was in a medically induced coma for a week. And I have to say that after going through that, when I woke up from that, I truly understood what it means to wake up with gratitude. And I knew from that point on that I had to continue to share this message of gratitude, and in a way that I didn't want others to go through what I'd been through, right? I wanted to be able to teach others to find ways to practice gratitude throughout their day without having to go through trauma or tragedy, which, of course, no life escapes either of those things. And as many of other speakers have said, it's the gratitude in the darkest times, in the most difficult moment, that is truly what helps us get through to the next moment in time. Over the past couple of years, I have been doing my podcast, the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast, which has been on hiatus. I went through a difficult burnout earlier this year, and I had to put all of my work on hold. I also took a long break from social media. This is one of the first events I'm doing since I've been back, and I am in a much better place now. And what really brings me joy today in terms of gratitude is a project that I'm doing for the third year, and that is my Wake Up with Gratitude calendar. So one of my most sacred gratitude practices is going to walk along the beach at sunrise. And I love to take photos of the sunrise. I would do it whether there's a calendar or not. And I love being able to share that through a calendar. And my calendar also includes gratitude prompts as well, because I really believe that when we put those images of the sunrise with those gratitude prompts together, it's just a reminder just to choose to wake up with gratitude every single day. So how I wake up every day is I say, thank you for this gift of another day and the opportunity to be of service to others and to make a difference in this world. And that's it.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, ladies. I know compiling your life's work into just a couple of minutes is difficult, but I appreciate so much what you shared. I'm just so overwhelmed, and I hear the common thread of, resilience through gratitude, which I'd like to talk a little bit more about. But for those of you watching, you may notice that there's somebody missing from our roundtable that we've been promoting. Dr. Kerry Howells is not here. She was supposed to be here. She committed to be here. And then what happened is she's from Australia. And so what is September 21st to me here in the US was September 22nd for her World Gratitude Day. And she had already booked a very important gratitude spreading commitment that it's very important for her to be there. But I did record with her. I want you to hear her message because she's got an important message. So I did a recording with her the other day. So I'm just going to briefly share with you her bio, if I can get it up here before we move on to our live discussion. So this is Dr. Kerry Howells. So I am here with Dr. Kerry Howells, who could not be here with us on World Gratitude Day. She committed to us several months ago when I had the idea, but the problem is she's in Australia. I'm in the United States. So World Gratitude Day, September 21st, is a very different day from in the United States than it is Australia, and she had a conflict. However, I love her work so much. She's been on my broadcast several times. She's the author of the book, Untangling You. How Can I Be Grateful When I Feel So Resentful? And I wanted to work her into the broadcast because I feel she has a message that needs to be shared on this World Gratitude Day. So welcome, Dr. Kerry Howells. Thank you for being here with us. Sorry you can't be here with us live, but thank you for being here with us virtually. And can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your work, and how you got started in the field of gratitude.
Yes, thank you, Lauren. And I'm very, very sorry that I can't be with everybody today. I'm actually flying out to Estonia at the very exact time that this roundtable is happening. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it anyway. So how I came across this work over 25 years ago, so I've been researching gratitude for that length of time, was with my university students, and they were full of complaint and dissatisfaction about this university course that I was teaching in philosophy. And they come off their Club Med holidays and in their really fancy cars next to my bomby car. And I thought they were really privileged in their lives more generally, and also to be able to do this course. But any teacher out there who would know that when you're with students and they don't want to be there and they're not really choosing to be there, it can be a real battle. So I would just say to them, how about we practice gratitude? And they were, to my surprise, they were really intrigued by that idea, because most of university learning up until that point had really focused more on how we think, and it wasn't really consciously attending to the kind of being that a student brings to their learning can have a really big impact on the outcomes of student engagement. And that's what my research showed, that actually when students practice gratitude, they can be more engaged. And so that was the beginning of my work with the students. But then I realized that my own gratitude had a really big impact on my students' gratitude. And so then I developed a whole approach to teaching, which I encapsulate in my first book, Gratitude in Education, A Radical View, where I'm demonstrating that a teacher's gratitude has a really important role to play in education, not only with the students, but with their colleagues and their own well-being. And then the teachers would say to me that they can't practice gratitude because the leaders aren't practicing. And so then I developed a whole approach for leaders. And so I've developed this and taught this for many years, not only in schools, but in organizations. And more recently, my research has taken me into the field of elite sport and also end-of-life care for cancer patients. But as a philosopher, I'm really interested in the challenges of gratitude. So I'm going into each one of these contexts and looking at the dilemmas that the participants have with gratitude. And this research has unfolded a really important phenomenon, which is that it's really easy to practice gratitude when we are in good relationships, but when those relationships are marked with resentment, which is the opposite of gratitude, then it's really hard for them to practice gratitude. So therefore, I wrote this book, How Can I Be Grateful When I Feel So Resentful? Because many of my participants were really very, very interested and needed to know the answer to that question. And there wasn't anything really written to answer that question. So I wrote a book that answered that question. And then I'm also really interested in the cross-cultural dimensions of gratitude. And so I believe that, Gratitude Day is a really great opportunity for us to reach out to someone from a different culture and to ask them how they like to express gratitude and have gratitude expressed to them. And this would be a really great way to really deeply understand them. So that's a very potted version of gratitude from my journey in gratitude. It's so much deeper and so much more to say, but that's kind of like a shorter version of it.
Fantastic. The book is so wonderful. I've had to have her on the show twice just to discuss the entire book. It's fantastic. So thank you, Kerry, for being with us virtually on this World Gratitude Day. And next year, we will have to get the dates situated so you can be with us live. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Look how good I am with like those transitions and everything. I like amaze myself. Interesting that Kerry talks about the cross-cultural differences with gratitude. Not only on our panel here, we span, including Kerry, 5 different countries. We've got Canada, the UK, the United States, Kerry's Australia. Who am I missing? Canada, maybe it's 4 different countries. Oh yeah, it was going to be 5 with somebody else that couldn't make it. But I'm seeing some amazing cross-cultural gratitudes here. We've got Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We've got Louisiana. So glad you are all here with us. South Dakota. Grateful I came across Lauren's Facebook pages, and now the opportunity to meet all of you. Feeling very grateful indeed. Thank you all for being here. So when I talked about the common thread of gratitude with us all, you all know that my primary work and many of yours as well is in how gratitude can help us in dealing with our emotional and physical health and wellness. And I think gratitude is often misunderstood nowadays, which is another question we will get to. But how do you feel, you ladies of women of gratitude, how do you feel that gratitude can help us with our overall health and well-being? I know that's a very loaded question for people like us because there's so much to it. You know, for me, deal with people with chronic pain and illness, I think it is often misunderstood that people think my group is about showing people to look on the bright side or looking at who has it worse than you, and that's not at all what we do in Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain. But we look at the bigger picture of life, and look at what is out there and try to put things into perspective, because I spent a lot of time stewing in my own misery and I lost out on living life. Now, when you live with chronic pain and illness, it's not always that simple to just, buck up and get a shower and go outside and socialize and all of that. It's very complicated, but we can take baby steps towards living a life of joy. We have to sort of pivot to a new way of thinking and doing things, but we have to be willing to pivot and change and come to a place of acceptance. So let me put this out here to you ladies, you women of gratitude. I don't know who wants to go first. Does anybody have a burning desire? How do you feel that gratitude helps us with our overall health and well-being? Julie?
I'll do that. Go ahead.
Julie first and then Sharon.
So one of my real cornerstones of gratitude practice, as I mentioned, was going to the beach in the morning and being in nature. And I think when we talk about health and well-being, especially mental health, I think nature is now being recognized as a really important factor in our mental health and well-being. So I like to combine the two. Finding ways to get out in nature, whether it's a local park, your backyard, the forest, the ocean, a river, a lake, whatever you can to be connected to nature, and then bringing your gratitude practice into that. And that might be, one of my favorite things is to just touch a tree, right? You put your hands on the tree and you just feel that connection to the earth and gratitude for this planet and for these trees that provide us oxygen. And then you can listen in a little bit deeper and you can hear the birds and think of all the insects and the life cycle and photosynthesis and all these things, like Sharon had said, like the basic things that we just take so much for granted. And that took me about maybe 45 seconds to tell you. And you can physically do that. You can get outside, be in nature, connect with nature in just a few moments, and it can have a massive impact in your health. In fact, here in Canada now, doctors can prescribe and then the person gets a pass to go to our parks for free, our national parks at no cost, because there's that connection between well-being and nature. Bring gratitude into it and you can have a very positive effect on mental health.
How cool. Good idea. There was I mentioned to the ladies before we went live that there was a very big news story that came out today where a U.S. task force they're recommending that people under the age of 65 get screened for anxiety. I'm on a news fast. I don't watch the news, but somehow I got this news story and it's all over the place. New York Times, the Washington Post, BBC. So it's really, the article I read was talking about, especially post-COVID, how anxiety is a real epidemic with people nowadays. I want to hear from Sharon and then maybe Dr. Peggy DeLong, the gratitude psychologist. Maybe you have thoughts on that as well. But Sharon, what are your thoughts? How does gratitude help our health and well-being? You're the Graticize 365. So you marry gratitude and exercise.
Yes. Well, thank you. When you were asking that question, it's why I started doing the work that I was doing, because I look back at when I was in school, it was 30 years ago in college. I have a degree in health promotions. I wasn't thinking of gratitude, nor was gratitude ever in any classes, so I'm hoping today that really is showing up now, of bringing in gratitude. Because when I discovered gratitude, really about 20 years ago, I was stunned how powerful it was for me as a fitness professional, the changes that it did. It served, because I had my degree, I had stress management and all these different things. But I hope to see in gratitude being a part of the whole program of health promotions, of fitness, exercise, all of it, because it really makes a difference. I never used to take walks outside and think about gratitude. I never went running, did marathons. I never thought about gratitude. I never once did. And it was pretty stunning to what I've learned now that I didn't know then. So I really do think I really want to find out more and reach out to more fitness professionals around the work that I'm doing, because I really would love to see, they maybe already be doing it, and I'd love to have conversations around that.
It's exciting. I'm sure you can all agree, in the decade or so that I've been doing this work, the studies that come out on gratitude is very exciting. I mean, I don't need a study to tell me what I already know and what I've experienced myself, but I get super excited every time I see one, because I feel like, saying, see, it's here, it's proven, it really does work. So what about you other ladies? We've got, Dr. Gratitude and the Gratitude Psychologist. How do you feel that gratitude helps with your well-being and overall wellness? I don't want to, Peggy, do you have any?
For me, I see it as twofold, especially when I'm working with my clients with grief or any emotional difficulty, whether that's depression or anxiety. That part of moving forward is experiencing the fullness of the emotion. And I like to avoid calling it a negative emotion. There truly is no such thing as a negative emotion. All of our emotions are valid and they need to be felt and processed. But we simply don't want to get stuck there. We don't want to be feeling depressed all the time or feeling deep grief. And gratitude is one way to move forward. But I always advise people that it's after you have given yourself permission to feel. And then simple methods of gratitude can help you to move forward and not get stuck there. And having these tools can actually help you address your emotional pain when you have that predictability of something that helps you to feel better. And Lauren, as you mentioned, there's so many studies on gratitude and its powerful effectiveness. And it's more than just self-report. It's more than people saying that this worked for me. It's more than just the 6 of us coming on and talking about it. There's so much brain science, and that we get, doses of serotonin and dopamine in our brains when we practice gratitude, and the functional MRIs that show that we truly form new neural pathways when we practice gratitude. And it simply starts with intention, just a desire to do so. And then our brain does the rest for us and makes it easier over the course of time when we commit to a simple daily practice. It doesn't need to take long. Some of the methods that I teach take 30 seconds, and we all have time for them. They work at 3 o'clock in the morning when those worry thoughts pop in and you're trying to get back to sleep, to simply focus on one thing that you're grateful for, because our thoughts have energy. They spiral, they gain momentum, and it's really hard to just shut off a thought, whether that thought is causing or contributing to sadness or anxiety. So one way to deal with that is to send that energy in a positive direction, and gratitude is one of the most beautiful and healing ways to do that.
Fantastic. Peggy does a lot of work with gratitude and grief, and obviously your personal story has a lot. You were on my show, I think it was just last week, wasn't it? Can gratitude and grief coexist?
Absolutely. And I was doing it without even knowing it when I was experiencing that anticipatory grief, when they told me my fiance was going to die, when I found that gratitude in the cup of hazelnut coffee. Gratitude doesn't make our problems go away. It didn't take away the fact that he was dying, and my mother's grief when my father died later. it didn't take away our sorrow, but it helped us get through the day when we were able to focus on the love that was bestowed upon us, when we were grateful for our own strength that we found within to get through each day. That cup of hazelnut coffee that I still drink every single morning. When we focus on the simple things, it helps us to feel better. So I like to encourage people to let yourself off the hook. Don't try to think of something huge and lofty. Be grateful for the color green in a blade of grass, or when you're out in nature, what can you find to be grateful for? Keep it simple. The fact that you have running water or a bed to sleep in. You know, I think about the days that I didn't have a bed to sleep in, when I was on the hospital floor, on the nights that they didn't have a recliner for me. So I love my bed, and it didn't, you know, we don't have to do without to appreciate something, but when we have that experience of being without something, it highlights that even more. But keep it simple. Think about what you might be taking for granted and connect with that and highlight that. I like the term exaggerate the good. Find the good during your day, and you get to assign meaning to it. So exaggerate it, exaggerate the good.
I love that. Exaggerate the good. That's fantastic. I mean, Dr. Gratitude, you meet with patients every day, and I know you've talked on my show and other work that you do about prescribing gratitude. How do you present that to your patients, and how do you frame that to them?
I think, thankfully, as you've all alluded to, there's so much research behind gratitude practice. So I feel very confident, recommending it to people. Obviously, in my professional capacity, I wouldn't recommend anything that isn't sort of evidence-based. So we know statistically it makes us happier. We know statistically it improves our sleep. We know statistically it reduces our stress hormone levels. And, it even reduces our blood pressure on a par with some of the tablets that we prescribe for patients. So there is all of that I can use to kind of illustrate some of the benefits patients will get. But I say to patients, and I say to people just outside of work as well, I don't think of gratitude practice as an isolated well-being tool. Think of it as a fundamental shift in the way that you see the world. And Dr. Long's mentioned about, the scans of brains of people who practice gratitude regularly. There are structural changes in your brain when you're practicing gratitude regularly. So the way that you interact with other people, the way that you see nature, the way that you see your work, the way that you see your own health, all these things completely change. So it's like a magic lens. And I think, most people get on board with that quite readily. Obviously, you have people that, rightly so, they're right to question things. And to that, I say, look, as we've said, it's free, it's easy. There's no side effects that I'm aware of. So it's kind of a no-brainer to give it a go. And if it's not for you after giving it a go, then fair enough. But I will say that I don't think I've had anybody come back to me who's practiced regularly and has said anything negative about practicing gratitude. They've all got something positive from it.
Fantastic. You said side effects. All of a sudden in my head, I'm thinking, ooh, there's a good quote in there. Tomorrow you're going to see some good side effects of gratitude come out in a quote from me. How about you, IJ? What are your thoughts on how gratitude improves our health and wellness?
It's so interesting because I have dug into the scientific research because I wanted, when I was writing the book, to add to it. And so, don't just believe me. Take a look at the science. Don't just believe my mom's stories. Don't just believe my stories, my experiences. However, it's interesting because my mom never practiced gratitude. She was born in the 1920s. She wasn't in her lexicon. That wasn't something that she consciously set out to do. It was in her nature. My initial sort of thoughts around that was, okay, so how do you teach that? How do you translate that and transfer that and invite others to get those benefits? But of course, it is the opportunity that once we do take those little steps, we can start to become, and as one of the comments already was that it's a way of life. It's a way of living. And that's how I ended up with the title of the book, The Grateful Way, because it gets to, once you buy into it and you feel the benefits from a health perspective, all of our mental health, our emotional health, our social health, our connections, our engagement, like Dr. Kerry Howells was talking about. And the bottom line is that it will then, it's a virtuous circle, not a vicious circle, because it builds on it, and we almost unconsciously start to see the world as one of you've already mentioned, in a different way. And it doesn't mean that there won't be sorrows, and it doesn't mean that there won't be pain. It just means that we will be able to cope and deal with it. Back to Lauren, you were talking about the article about anxiety. It's another tool in our toolkit to help us rise above, to face that, and potentially at least come out having handled it, and be able to look back, hopefully having maybe learned something, and then go forward.
I love that, sort of like using our roadblocks as growth opportunities, and framing it that way, rather than, digging in our heels and staying stuck in our pain and misery. But instead of having, I often say, instead of having the waves crash down on us, learning to ride the ups and downs, because they are going to come. And it's really just about being flexible and adaptable, right? And learning how to use gratitude as a tool. Like you said, it's another tool. I think all of you have said it is free, and there are no side effects. I often say too, it's simple, but it's not always easy. When we're going through the struggles in life, whether it's pain of any kind, and my group is open to people not only with physical pain, but we deal with more with the emotional aspects of living with life-altering, chronic pain and illness, depression, anxiety, things like that. But I kind of have an unofficial motto of our group saying we decide to love our life more than we hate our pain, because life is short and we never know when our time is up. And not that we want to be living in doomsday all the time, but using gratitude as a tool in our toolbox. I think studies show that it actually can help rewire our brain, and practicing it during those times. And you experts can confirm this, but practicing it during the hard times, while is much more difficult, it really helps us to, sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, like an insurance policy. It makes it opens our eyes, I think, to the wonder and fullness of life, so it doesn't get as difficult next time. That's what I found in my personal experience anyway. I have some comments here I'd like to get to. Sandy Montgomery says, gratitude helped me get back a lot of myself that I lost to chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. Wonderful. Kirsten says, it helps me allow those strong emotions. I think because as scary as it is, there's all these things to be grateful for. Absolutely. For those of you who are just joining us or who haven't weighed in yet, if you'd like to share with us how you practice gratitude, what it has brought to your life, and if you have any questions for our panel of expert guests here tonight, please feel free, if you have something that's specific to their expertise, please feel free to send it our way in the comments. A couple of you have touched on this already, gratitude being misunderstood. There's a lot of talk nowadays about toxic positivity. And I think I've asked each of you this individually when you were guests on my broadcast on Thursday nights, but I think it's often misunderstood that gratitude is really just, it's not dealing with our problems. It's kind of sweeping them under the rug and just, happy, joy all the time. And I think, Peggy, you said we have to be able to feel our feels in order to heal. We can't skirt around them. We can't go over and under. I tried to drink my problems away and just created more for myself. So what are your thoughts? I'll ask this of all of you, whoever feels like weighing in, but what are your thoughts on gratitude, toxic positivity, perhaps what is misunderstood about gratitude? Does anybody care to weigh in on this? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. You can raise your hand or give me a wink.
I'll go again, I guess. I don't mind going first. Oh my gosh. Yes. When toxic positivity started coming to the forefront, I was like, wait, is that what I'm doing? I'm like, I don't think that's what I'm doing. Hang on. I just noticed a comment, that there's a lot of talk about gratitude fatigue. And I think that's kind of what can happen is like using gratitude in replacement of feeling the feelings and being present in the moment and acknowledging what's happening in our lives, especially during these past 2.5 years. I mean, with a global pandemic and everything that's happened, I think it's so easy to just whitewash our feelings and just, focus on the gratitude. I wrote a poem at the beginning of the pandemic called A Tsunami of Gratitude, which was about how at the time, you saw everybody's Facebook pages flooded with gratitude, right? Gratitude in the hearts in the window and gratitude for all the healthcare workers and all of these things, right? This beautiful flood of gratitude. And I think a lot of that actually did become toxic because so many people just sort of got on this gratitude train and then didn't continue with an actual genuine practice when things got hard, because they got harder and harder and harder and more difficult. And so what I think the difference really is a gratitude practice allows you to stop and be present. You can acknowledge what is. And what I often do in my own life is I will acknowledge what is. You know what? It sucks right now that I am late for this appointment and this person cut me off and I'm frustrated about it because there's never any traffic here on the island, but somehow it's all right here right now. And then I stop and I interrupt myself with a moment of, wait a minute. Okay, first of all, I have a vehicle I drive. I can put fuel in this vehicle. I am physically able to drive this vehicle. I am able to go to this appointment that I have. So all of these things, like that's how I see the difference between this toxic positivity of just pretending everything's okay and whitewashing it with gratitude and using gratitude really as a tool in our lives. Like I think so many of us in this group, and I'm sure people that are listening as well, I've heard this said before, but we speak the language of gratitude. So we don't replace our emotions with gratitude. We use gratitude as a way that we go through our lives, that we process things, and we can turn a situation around because we're able to truly find a genuine moment of gratitude, even when things are just not going great.
Thanks, Julie. Great suggestions. Great insight into that. I agree. When that first came out, toxic positivity, I'm like, oh, I don't think that's what I'm doing. IJ, you have some thoughts?
I just wanted to echo Julie's, the word genuine. That's the difference for me between truly feeling gratitude and the toxic positivity trap. Because if it is just all superficial, then it is toxic positivity. And if it is just ignoring the situation, I love, again, what you said, Julie, the acknowledging what is, because it could be horrible, but then genuinely finding something to be grateful for. That would be clearly a distinction for me.
I like that.
Wow.
And I'd just like to add that when you do both, allow yourself to feel both the pain and can be grateful, that is fully living, feeling our emotions, all of it, bittersweetness, feeling that's being whole, and that's living fully when we allow ourselves to feel our pain and can find gratitude through that. So that's the way I kind of view it, really living fully, whatever comes my way. I can't deny it. but I can, in that moment, be present, experience my pain, and use gratitude for one simple thing to help me to feel a little bit lighter, but not to deny whatever problem I'm facing for the day, whether it's traffic or anything at all. Because every day we're going to have some type of issue, big or small, every single day. And gratitude is one way just to make everything feel a little bit lighter. But overall, I like to use the concept of bittersweetness, that it just comes with life and feeling all of it.
For me, the more I tried to hide it and suppress it, I think it just came back to me, 100-fold. I didn't want to talk about my struggles, my pain. I thought I would be depressing to people. I didn't want to join a support group because I thought that would be depressing to me, which I think is funny now in hindsight, since I run one sort of, but I really just feel like so that's why I drank. One of the reasons why I drank, I used to lie to myself and say that it was to help with the physical pain. And I think that was a part of it, but in hindsight now, I think that was a very small part of it. I think it was more the emotional pain. And obviously, that did not work well for me. I do not recommend it at all to drink in excess, to suppress feelings. It just wasn't a good move for me. Got a great comment here. Natalie inspires you. Love the name. Gratitude does help us to see the truth. Absolutely. And I put this up a few minutes ago. Garanka says, I believe gratitude is anxiety disruptor. I love that. I love that. One of you said before we went live, we were talking about that article about the recommendation that people get screened for anxiety. One of you said, I think it was you, Sharon, you said, I don't really know many people that don't have anxiety, or at least know of somebody that's close to them. It seems to be such an epidemic nowadays. I think I already mentioned that the article said that the pandemic had a lot to do with that, but it really, anxiety disruptor, I love that term, and I believe that to be true as well, for sure. One of the things I talk about in my group a lot is, I believe, while gratitude is important and it really is the crux of the group, I believe that paired with connection, I often say it's the secret sauce to a life of joy and intention. While we can practice gratitude all we want by ourselves, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing when we're sharing it with others, like we're doing here tonight, not only here on the panel, but those of you who are watching, we're choosing to spend, 90 minutes of our day to talk and learn about gratitude. So how do you ladies feel that, gratitude helps us with our connections with others, especially if you've got something like reentry anxiety after COVID? We were all so used to, no people, we're all virtual. We don't want to be around people. And then now the world's opening up again, and there's that anxiety. There's just a lot of anxiety. So I think forming those connections, and the film Gratitude Revealed talked about that a lot. If any of you saw it, were able to see it today or in the theaters already. So how do you feel? Farhana, do you have any thoughts about that with connection?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the many beautiful things about gratitude practice is the fact that, unlike other well-being practices, we know from the research that if we practice gratitude and express gratitude to other people, then not only do we get all those vast benefits of the practice, but so does the other person, which I think always just blows my mind when I think about it. So we can literally gift gratitude to others. So in that way, expressing our gratitude to others, I think, is one of the sort of core foundations of a really deep connection with another human being. And it's something I certainly, we talk about the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, that first time that you could go back into a coffee shop and, get a morning cup of coffee, which you hadn't been able to do for the preceding months, that felt like a really big event. And usually pre-pandemic, it would be a thank you, and then I'd be out the door. This time I actually took a moment and actually said to the barista, thank you for the care you've taken to make my coffee. And I really appreciate the fact that you're so smiley every morning, even when the rest of us are half asleep. And just kind of, that slightly extended kind of expression of gratitude, it really just made my day so much nicer. And I could tell by the look on the other person's face that it really made a difference to their morning. So I think the more we share our gratitude, which, I don't know how you ladies feel, but for me, I certainly feel like sharing gratitude is a pillar to, gratitude practice. I think that is the way that we feel connected to others in the world. And I think it should be the currency that makes the world go round.
Ooh, that's another quote. If I ever heard one, the currency that makes the world go around, stealing that one. No, I'm kidding. I won't do that. Wonderful answer.
And it's so important right now. There really is a loneliness epidemic. And the number one factor related to happiness based on psychological research is our human connections. And I love that we can pair gratitude with that by reaching out to other people, whether it's sending a text or writing a handwritten gratitude letter. Like, how nice would it be to receive one in the mail that's handwritten? I recently reached out to my dissertation advisor. I haven't seen her in 20 years. We just connected on email. Turns out she's going through my neighborhood next month, and we're going to get together for lunch, simply because I took 30 seconds to write a quick email of thanks to her from something that happened 20 years ago. So you never know where a simple expression of gratitude can lead you. But we need to foster our human relationships. It is so vital for joy in our lives and well-being, and actually longevity. It actually predicts how long we will live, the quality, not quantity, but the quality of our human connection. So any time spent fostering our human relationships is time well spent.
Fantastic. And such a good point about loneliness too. I think it was only maybe a month or two ago, another study came out talking about 1 in 3 people report that they are lonely, and it's heartbreaking. Understandable as well, with the pandemic and all. As much as people put down social media, I think, for me, it's basically my passion, my life's work is tied up in this Facebook group, which I'm so passionate about. And these are people from all over the world, just like we are here tonight, who are connecting, who otherwise perhaps they're bedbound or housebound. And this is their way of connecting with each other. And while maybe not quite as good as a in-person hug and face-to-face lunch, it's still important. Connections like that, are great. And like you said, Peggy, you reached out to your dissertation advisor. Social media we can find people that we've lost touch with. It's a wonderful way to help foster and add to our human connections, I think.
Lauren,
yeah, Sharon.
Yeah, I think I love this conversation, and one of the things that I do know, and we all know, I'm sure, is that gratitude opens our heart. We have this opening. I found it, from when I first started, and it continues. And you kind of also can gauge where you're at with gratitude. If your heart closes up a little bit or if it opens, it's a good indicator as well. But when you really are practicing gratitude, the heart is open. People who are open to receive that same connection is amazing.
Thank you, Sharon. Amazing. We've got a question here for Farhana. Question for Dr. Farhana. Have you had a situation where a patient has expressed that the practice of gratitude is not working for them? How would you as a doctor explain to them that it does work? Great question.
Hi, thank you for the question. So I think I've had patients come back and they've been honest about the fact that they haven't actually practiced regularly. So I guess for them, the challenge was there were some barriers to forming a habit, which I think with any practice, any new practice can be a challenge. So then I think it's about giving, practical tips about how they can try and build a habit, of which there's loads out there. There are some that, I tend to recommend to people. But I think ultimately, and then going back to the body of evidence, I think a lot of the time when you give advice as a health professional, a lot of the time, person on the receiving end, they do know, maybe not the fine-tuned details of what you're saying, but they know if you say to somebody, you need to exercise more, you need to lose weight, people know that, they get that. So it's kind of, why is that not happening? And I think it's about trying to explore what are the barriers. Is it that somebody just doesn't fancy it? Is it that they don't have the time? Is it that they can't find a quiet moment in their day because of their kind of lifestyle? So I think if you can try and work with what the root cause is to try and help people build habits, then, you know, most people actually get on very well with it. But one thing I'd say is, you know, from our product, our app, we encourage people to record their gratitude each day, but we tell people to do it just for 60 seconds each day. So we know from our research that just practicing just for a minute a day can have a massive impact on your well-being. I think about 85% of our users have noticed some improvement in their well-being within about 14 days of just a minute a day. So I kind of try and throw that back at patients if they sort of say, look, I'm too busy for this. So yeah, I think that's pretty much how I try to approach it. But yeah, most of the time it's just people haven't gotten around to practicing regularly, rather than they've practiced regularly and they've not really noticed anything.
I think another one of the reasons why I get excited when the new studies come out is because I think, you know, there's often been thought of gratitude as being like a woo-woo thing, like a new agey, you know, not a real thing, not a measurable action. You know, up until kind of recently, my group is about 96% women. And not by choice. We don't get men requesting to join. I know they live with chronic pain and illness, but I'm seeing a shift more in recent years, but it's still pretty small. And I often think that, and I shouldn't guess how men look at gratitude, but as far as chronic pain, I think they want a solution and an answer, and gratitude doesn't seem like a real solution as some of the feedback I've gotten. I don't know if any of you ladies, Julie, did you have something you wanted to share about the previous question before we move on to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention about connecting and writing, because Sharon mentioned, you know, thank you cards, and Dr. Peggy mentioned about handwritten. And one of the things that I did is I created a set of cards with my sunrise photos with gratitude prompts in them. So this one says, for example, thank you for your kindness. And I put them together in a set of 30 to encourage people to do a 30 days of gratitude card challenge. Now, you don't have to use my cards to do this, of course. You can use any cards you choose to. But the idea with this challenge is to make a written connection and be specific about your gratitude. So when you're writing a gratitude card to someone, be specific about what it is you are grateful for about them. It can just be a one-time thing. You know, you can thank someone for maybe the way that they treated you at an event, or you know, I sent one to one of my practitioners this summer just to say, thank you so much for being with me along this journey of healing that I'm going through, which has been really hard. And I truly appreciate that you hold this space for me. And I'm so grateful for that. And what that does, not only does make you feel good, of course, as mentioned, but when you send a physical card to someone, is many times that card goes on a desk, goes on a fridge, goes on a shelf, and it's there. It's a constant reminder, and that person can look back. If I receive gratitude cards, I save them and I will reread them. And so that connection with just a bit of specific gratitude to a person, and even if they don't answer you back after you've sent the card, that's okay. Just know that you sending out those words, that connection through gratitude, it connects you, you know, in a really different way, in like a more spiritual, ethereal way, if you will. Like you're building those invisible connections with someone, even if they don't react from receiving a card from you.
Fantastic. We've got a great comment here from Christine Malloy. Being online around other people who practice gratitude has actually helped me to be more active with the world offline. I agree, Christine. That's a really great thought, and something that I guess I knew, but I hadn't really, thought much about. But that's a really great insight. Thank you for that. So, that's a really good stepping stone, Julie, to my next question for all of you, which is, I'm always looking for ways to freshen up my gratitude practice. Not everybody is a gratitude journaling person, or even if you are, perhaps it can grow tired sometimes and you need something to kind of spark. I often, Sharon, actually, the last time she was on my show, she offered a great suggestion I don't think this is the one you're going to offer tonight, Sharon, but you text every day with your mom what you're grateful for. And I often say, encourage people in my group to have a text buddy, text people what you're grateful for each day. It's just a small, simple thing that you can add to your day. So I want to put out to all of you, and I'd love for you all to answer if you have any tips on, other ways we can add gratitude to our lives. IJ, why don't we start with you?
Thanks, Lauren. I love gratitude letters, and I don't think they have to be novels. Quick little short form point, bullet points, whatever works. But back to a card or an email or a letter, 3 different ways. One can be to someone who you've lost in your life. And so you might not even send that letter because they have either been from your past or you missed a chance to tell them what you would have and they've passed away, or it was a really bad situation and you learned some things from it, but you need to get it off your chest. A second letter is to yourself, a gratitude letter to yourself that you can just take some time to express and understand and give yourself some care. Sometimes some forgiveness, depending on what's been going on in your life. And thirdly, to someone special, obviously, that then if you can, even online or face-to-face, in person now, post-COVID, read the letter to them, gift them the letter, and encourage them to think about, and potentially they'll do the same. And so it grows.
Love it. Great suggestion. How about you, Sharon? Do you have any ideas for us? I hope I didn't steal your idea. I don't think that's the one you were going to.
Actually, what I did with my mom, it wasn't even texting. We would FaceTime each other. So we actually did FaceTiming when we did our gratitudes. So that was really personal, and I love that. I was thinking about. There's so many ideas and thoughts about it, and also IJ, I wanted to share one thing. Thank you for your suggestions too. And what I loved about writing for the people who have passed. I did that with my grandmother, and I have that letter and I've saved it this whole time. And then I know that one day when that letter's around, someone else is going to receive from my family that letter. So it carries on. So I really love that when you shared that. It made me think about that. I'm also I love the gratitude jar thing. So my gratitude jar is a biggie that I love putting things, pieces of paper and what you're grateful for inside that. Another one last one, and I did this a couple of years ago on another World Gratitude Day. I had a group of people and I had them take a piece of paper and put the first letter of their name and just make it real big on the piece of paper, as big as you can. And then you take 2 minutes and you just start writing all the words that relate to that letter that you're grateful for. And then it just gets your mind going of just different things that you're grateful for. And then you share it with everybody. So
great
tips you can do with letters and bringing out gratitude.
Great tips. You always have such great suggestions. And in your, is it the Gratisize 365 book that you have every day, you have a new tip for people? Is it that book?
I have, actually, it's in all of them. There's different ones, but the Gratisize and also the 28-day gratitude workout. Yeah.
For those of you in Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain in our journaling club, we're going to be working on the 28-day book as our October. Yeah, it's going to be October, isn't it? Yikes. Our October challenge coming up. So that's a nice treat for us. How about Dr. Peggy, the Gratitude Psychologist? What are your suggestions?
Sure. I'd like to share the idea of thinking about 2 things that you're grateful for that happened that day, right before you go to bed. And the reason that this is powerful right at bedtime is because we tend to bring into our sleep what we last thought about, read, saw on television, whatever we were looking at and digesting, we tend to bring that into our sleep. So one way that we can help facilitate more restful sleep is to have it be something positive. And when we are thinking about what we're grateful for, automatically it's something positive. And when we think about what happened that day, it actually is more powerful for what happens the next day, because when you hold yourself accountable to that simple exercise, then as you go through the next day, you will actually notice more. You will highlight more of the good things that happen, because you know you're going to hold yourself accountable to think about 2 things at bedtime. And the other benefit is that your brain can't tell the difference between living an event and recalling an event. So it's like a double dose of gratitude. You get to experience it, the wonderfulness in the moment, and then when you recall it at bedtime, you get to re-experience those 2 good things all over again. So lots of great reasons to practice 2 things that you're grateful for, to think about 2 things that you're grateful for right at bedtime when your head hits the pillow.
I love that. And I know there's studies also talking about we're more grateful or have longer lasting gratitude for experiences rather than things, than material things. So that's a great tip. Thank you. How are you, Dr. Gratitude?
Hi. So unsurprisingly, being the creator of a video journaling app, I would suggest people give video journaling a go. So with our app, the idea is just to record 1 to 3 things you feel grateful for and why in a 60-second video. And I think it has a lot of advantages over the traditional sort of journaling method. 60-second videos, super quick. So no matter how busy your life is, I've said that before, you can fit that in. And sometimes writing in a journal can be more time consuming than that. I think most people don't carry their physical journals around with them all the time, but we carry our phones around with us all the time. So it gives you the option of practicing gratitude spontaneously and probably more frequently throughout your day. I think you mentioned, Lauren, sometimes it can be tiring writing in a journal. And we've certainly had that feedback when we were researching things as well. But I think the nice thing about video journaling is you can be very creative. So it can be you talking to the camera about things that you feel grateful for and why, or you can flip the camera. And, if you're on a nice walk through the park and you see a beautiful tree you feel grateful for, you can snap that. If you're with a friend that you feel grateful for, you can film them, obviously with their consent. So those are some of the ways that we think video journaling, is a really, really sort of effective and easy way to practice gratitude. And my last thing, just research. We know that, a picture is 1,000 words. And we know that people who look back on a photo of a happy memory, they have a much stronger positive reinforcement of emotions around that memory than simply rereading a written journal entry. So I think with the videos, that is quite noticeable. The sort of feedback we get is that people who look back on their videos, they really get a real surge, sort of a boost to their well-being looking back on things. They've got the visuals, they've got the sounds. And sometimes that, that can be a lot more powerful than rereading your own writing. So I would say, for people to give that a go and see how they feel about that.
Love it. These are fantastic tips. Who hasn't? Julie, you haven't gone yet, right? Julie, last but not least.
Well, except for your tips, Lauren. Yes, I'm going to share 2 things. First, when you talk about a picture being worth 1,000 words, I do something really different and creative. So I do have my calendar, which is the Wake Up with Gratitude calendar. And what it is it's photos of almost all sunrises. So you get the image of the rising sun that's starting the day. But what I do differently to help practice gratitude is that every month there's a gratitude prompt. So for example, this one says, find gratitude in the rising sun. And what I love about this is that, for those that still use a physical calendar, the image puts you in a place of like, oh, wow, like just love that sunrise. And then you're looking at this reminder, share your gratitude with a loved one, which can be done in so many of the ways that have been suggested by these amazing speakers. So that's one of the things that I created that I'm really excited about, because it's a different way to practice gratitude and affordable. But my favorite, really totally free way, as all of them are free pretty much, is for that stopping when you're having anxiety or a moment of stress. So what I do is this. take a moment and step outside if you can. So be outside in nature. If you're able to even take your shoes off and be planted in the grass, great. But if you can't, that's all right. And once you're in nature, you take 3 deep belly breaths. So putting your hand on your belly, allowing your belly to expand, and take a nice deep breath. Do that 3 times to allow your body to switch from fight or flight back to the resting mode. And once you've had that switch, it only takes 3 to 5 breaths. And then say out loud if you can, but in your head if you're not comfortable, 3 things you're grateful for in that moment. So it might be that you're grateful for the ground under your feet, or that your heart is beating, or that you are outside in nature. And this really simple practice that takes less than a minute will interrupt that anxiety, that stress pattern, and then allow you to then deal with what prompted that to happen with a more clear head, a level head, and leading with your heart instead of in fight or flight.
Fantastic. You ladies are just spectacular, and your ideas on sharing gratitude with everybody and new ways to foster it and craft it, craft a life of joy that we all desperately desire, that can be had through all of these various ways of gratitude. My tip is one that I've already shared throughout the broadcast, which would be to find a group. I would love if you join mine, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. If that's not for you, then find a group of people, like-minded people, like we are all here, because your vibe does attract your tribe. And when you're hanging around with negative people, it does nourish us with negativity. And while we want to be there for people and listen wholeheartedly to them with their struggles and all of that, that's part of the human condition and part of being a good friend and family member. When we're hanging around with people that's all they do is complain, it does feedback on us as well, and does taint our lives. So find a group, a gratitude-based group, or your own friends. Toxic people in our lives, I have very few toxic people in my life today, because I just don't have time for it anymore. I don't have the energy for it. My energy is precious, and I want to hang around with people who feed my soul and who make me want to walk the walk of gratitude. So that's my suggestion. And this 90 minutes went so quickly. I can't thank you all enough, the women of gratitude, for being here with me tonight, and for all of you who've been watching for the past 90 minutes and commenting. Thank you all so much. One question is your app available in North America? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Only available on iOS, though, so you will need an Apple device, but it is free to download all over the world.
Great. Thank you all so much for being here. For those of you, the comments I couldn't get to, I did have some other video clips from Dr. Kerry Howells, who couldn't be here, but because of time, I couldn't share them. I will add them to this video. If you click on this link, probably not tonight, but tomorrow, I will add those to the replay, so you can watch. She has tips, and she has an answer to one of the questions that I asked of these ladies tonight. But Julie Boyer, Sharon Saraga Walters, IJ McIntyre, Dr. Peggy DeLong, Lauren Blanchard Zalewski, and Dr. Farhana, Dr. Gratitude. Thank you all for being a part of this World Gratitude Day and the Women of Gratitude live virtual roundtable. It's an honor spending this time with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. If you'd like to find out more about me, you can visit gratitudeaddict.com. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, you are not on anybody's email list. So if you would like to be on any of the email lists and find out more about any of our guests tonight, everybody's links are in the show notes, and I put them in the broadcast tonight too. And we hope to see you next year for the Women of Gratitude Live Virtual Roundtable 2023. And from the bottom of my heart, happy World Gratitude Day, and thank you for spending this time with us. Until next time, get your gratitude on, and peace and love. I got a great closing. Here it is. Here we go. Bye, gang.